got no right here.
I do.
Illegal, brother.
You need to stop kidnapping people off the fucking street.
100%.
Stop! You guys are kidnapping people off the fucking street.
100%.
You guys have no conscience.
Yep.
If you're doing something right, take your fucking mask off then. Yeah, you get out.
That is a stun grenade. Are you serious right now? Maybe you guys should just go ahead and record me, bro. This is me. This is my job. You're not going to intimidate me. We still have a First Amendment in this country.
Shame on you fucking Nazi pigs!
What is he doing? He's a fucking hard-working
Hey, got the fuck down. Hey, chill.
Hey, we're taking this motherfucker. I'm giving this.
I'm not doing shit, dude. Chill. I'm not doing shit. Hey, what the fuck, dude? You can't be doing that shit. This is my civil right. I can fucking record you if I want. Hey, yo, what the fuck? Look.
Put it in the car. Put it in the car.
Hey, these are legal citizens, you fucking pieces of shit. Fuck you.
That's just a tiny sample of what's to come in this country, because the Department of Homeland Security is currently gearing up to create a de facto fascist police state that'll treat all of us like we're subjects of some sort of a foreign occupation. And the reason why things are about to get much worse in the near future is because funding for ICE just exploded thanks to the passage of Donald Trump's big bullshit bill. Now, we're going to discuss what that's going to look like in practice in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about one thing that they're doing to overcome a major obstacle pertaining to recruitment. Because the morale for members of Trump's ICE Gestapo is reportedly in the crapper, as the New Republic reports, because the brown shirts involved expected to actually go after hardened criminals and human traffickers, as opposed to, gardeners. But thanks to the imposition of strict quotas by Donald Trump and Stephen Miller, they feel like they're being forced to go after the low-hanging fruit to make up their numbers, namely mothers picking up their children from school and families outside of courtrooms who've had their cases dismissed. And of course, they're also going after U.S. citizens as well who happen to be brown. Now, this low morale has reportedly led to some considering quitting altogether. In fact, a 33-year-old ICE attorney quit recently after his conscience caught up with him. I guess locking up innocent people in makeshift concentration camps where their human rights are abused. It does take a mental toll on the few brown shirts who actually do have the capacity to feel empathy, but most of them do not. Most of these small dick fascists seem to relish in the pain and suffering that they're causing because it makes them feel like they're big and powerful. And they've never felt like this before. They've always been losers. So for them to be able to lord over communities and treat people like shit, they get some sort of a thrill from that. But that doesn't mean that there aren't downsides to the job. Abducting innocent people and violating their civil liberties does have a downside nonetheless. It leads to social blowback, hence why these Nazi pigs feel inclined to cover their faces much like the Ku Klux Klan does. And when you see the increasing amount of pushback the Gestapo is getting from good people who are appalled by overt fascism, it might be a turnoff for other potential fascists who would otherwise want to join. But if you have this massive budget all of a sudden and you plan to put 10,000 new ICE Gestapo agents on the streets to terrorize even more people, how do you entice them into joining your Gestapo if right now it doesn't seem like that's a very good career choice? Well, you offer them policies that the Republican Party traditionally have dismissed as socialist. As Politico reports, DHS is recruiting new Gestapo members by offering them $50,000 bonuses for signing up, as well as student loan forgiveness and posters. Yes, you heard that right. Posters, specifically these, where they feature prominent fascists from the Trump administration and say, defend the homeland, join ICE today. That's some Starship Trooper shit. Now, look, they had me at $50,000 in student loan forgiveness, but the posters, in my opinion, that's the real pull. But listen, that's not all, because in a press release by the DHS, they say that they're also offering 25% law enforcement availability pay, administratively uncontrollable overtime, and enhanced retirement benefits. So if you're an aspiring violent criminal, you'll not only get to indulge in your sociopathic tendencies legally, you'll also be handsomely rewarded for doing so. And it's crazy because I thought that Republicans and the Supreme Court said that you can't cancel our student debt. Because remember when Biden tried to cancel $10,000 to $20,000 for each of us? Republicans, including ones that had their PPP loans forgiven entirely, mind you, threw fucking hissy fits. And then the Supreme Court shot it down and said, you can't do that. But all of a sudden, I guess that this socialist policy is okay so long as it furthers Trump's fascistic goals. Why does he get to do it, but Biden couldn't do it? Interesting, isn't it? Now, again, I would ask how we're going to pay for 10,000 new brown shirts, but we're not. As you all know, the big bullshit bill adds trillions of dollars to the deficit and the debt. So after we squeeze, more money out of the poor by taking away their health care and food stamps, they're just going to finance the rest by putting it on a credit card. It's just, it's some bullshit. And I hope that all the 2028 Democratic Party contenders take note, because Republicans saying you can't do something means they can do it, but you can't. So they should absolutely do everything they can to alleviate our suffering, cancel the remainder of our debt, cancel medical debt, give us Medicare for all. Look, I don't give a shit if the next Democrat pulls down their pants and takes a shit on the Constitution. It'll be less disrespectful than what Trump is doing right now. So if Trump is able to wield ultimate power by acting like a de facto dictator, then the next president, if they're a Democrat, they should be able to do the same. But earlier in this video, I alluded to what this massive ICE budget will mean for ordinary Americans, and comedian Adam Conover did a really fantastic job putting it all into perspective so you can really visualize what we're going to see in the near future. And he explains that it is going to feel like we are living in an entirely different country, and these changes may be irreversible, which is the worst part.
This is how much we were spending on immigration enforcement before Trump signed the Triple B. This is how much we're spending on immigration enforcement now. We are about to direct an ungodly and unprecedented sum of money towards immigration enforcement and border control. This taxpayer money, your money, is going to be used to fund a massive internal army devoted to racially profiling, arresting, and deporting law-abiding residents of this country. And I don't think we are ready for how this is going to transform the cities in which we live and America as a whole. This spending amounts to a complete reorientation of the entirety of American law enforcement to be against immigrants.
Under this bill, by 2028, you're talking about spending effectively 80% of all federal law enforcement dollars will go to immigration enforcement.
I mean, this is insane. 80% of our law enforcement dollars are going to be spent prosecuting people for committing civil immigration offenses. You know who that's great for? Criminals. If you want to commit tax fraud or some light larceny, now's the time, because the feds don't give a shit about that anymore. The FBI even deprioritized white-collar crime this year to focus on immigration. So the next Sam Bankman-Fried is going to be Sam Bankman-Free, just so we can lock up a few more of the people who pick your strawberries. And this new enforcement regime could last forever, because the explicit goal of this bill is to create a bureaucracy of repression that is almost impossible to remove. Here's former acting ICE director Josh Sandweg.
We're going to see an ICE that it is going to be hard for any future administration to shrink it, and its capacity to deport will certainly be at the highest level it's ever been in the history of the United States.
This is nothing less than a structural change to American government. It injects harsh anti-immigrant repression into the very DNA of our governmental system and makes that one of its fundamental goals and mechanisms.
And he goes on to explain how different it feels to live in LA because of the ICE Gestapo. He says that he hears helicopters flying overhead all the time. Members of his community have gone missing. And I would highly encourage you to watch his full breakdown, which I'll link to down below, because it's important to prepare ourselves for what's coming, because it is coming. It's already here. It's just that it's going to get much, much worse. But the silver lining, I guess, is that communities absolutely do not appreciate Trump's Gestapo terrorizing their people. And California Republicans whose districts have been affected by this, they are now terrified that they're going to pay a political price for all of the chaos that's unfolding in the midterms. And the reason why they're so afraid isn't because, they're worried about human rights abuses or anything like that. Of course, it's because the ICE Gestapo is deporting so many people that it's affecting certain industries in these Republicans' districts. And if there's anything that capitalists care about, it's not people, it's capital. So in a report for Politico, Ben Fox and Melanie Mason report, amid reports of masked agents sweeping into neighborhoods in tactical gear, public sentiment is shifting nationally against the president's immigration policies, and some long-suffering Republicans here are scrambling to stake out a middle ground between supporting Trump, but not the raids that are rippling through their communities and threatening key industries. Quote, I don't dismiss for one second that the fear in our communities is real. It is, said State Senator Suzette Martinez Valladares, a Republican who was the lead author of a recent letter urging the administration to focus on criminal immigrants. I've had constituents on both sides articulate that it's heartbreaking, heart-wrenching what's going on. These concerns emerge as employers become increasingly vocal about losing workers and polls start to show slipping support for Trump's immigration policies. Republicans in California may be uniquely attuned to the potential ramifications of an immigrant blowback, a warning sign for the party across the country. Now, I don't want to give you the impression that there's this groundswell of objections from California Republicans, because that's not the case. Out of 29 total state Republican lawmakers in California, just 6 have expressed concerns about the ICE Gestapo, now that it's affecting industries in their districts. But they are cognizant of that fact. Like, they know that deportation of immigrants threatens industries in their districts, and that is something that they will pay a political price for, and they know that, which is why they're choosing to speak out now. But aside from the cynical capitalist angle, these Republican sociopaths know that they have to do their best to pretend to care in order to placate their constituents who are appalled at the fact that they're watching their neighbors get kidnapped by fascist thugs in masks. Like, you can't just be cold to that, even though you feel nothing. You have to pat them on the heads and say, yes, I know that what you're seeing is scary. I agree with you, even though deep down they couldn't care less. But, you know, out of the hundreds of examples I could play for you of human rights abuses, and we've talked about them on the show before, of the ICE Gestapo, I just want to share the story of one individual. His name is Adwa Hathaleen. He's a Palestinian peace activist and English teacher who was detained in San Francisco and deported back to the West Bank, where he was subsequently murdered by an Israeli settler. And that settler, mind you, was sanctioned by the United States government, but Trump got in and removed those sanctions. And there was a reason for those sanctions, because he went on to murder an innocent Palestinian man in cold blood. Had he not been deported, he would still be with us today. That's a fact. Now, as for why he was deported, he wasn't given a reason. A lot of these people are not, but he was doing an interfaith speaking tour that was organized by a synagogue in California. So perhaps he was targeted for his political beliefs, right? Trump's administration has targeted individuals like Rumeysa Ozturk and Mahmoud Khalil who speak out for Palestinian human rights. So odds are, you know, him preaching empathy led to his ultimate demise, unfortunately. He's a hero, but he's just one of tens of thousands of people, including some American citizens, who've been sent back to a country that's hostile or unfamiliar to them, or who's currently being extrajudicially detained in a concentration camp somewhere where they're being abused. And like, this is happening to citizens as well. I want to stress that. An American man, he's a citizen, was deported to Haiti, where he's now just staying in a homeless shelter because he doesn't know anyone in Haiti. He doesn't know what to do. And he's just like, we're just leaving him there. Like, it's, what would you do, you know, as an American, if you're watching this and you were sent to some random ass country? You wouldn't know anyone. It would be unfamiliar to you. Your life would be over. It'd be ruined, right? This is so much cruelty that it's inconceivable. And listen, there has to come a day where all of the people perpetrating these crimes against humanity are punished. So the talk of abolishing ICE, in my opinion, that is insufficient. I just have to assume that you cannot be a Democrat these days unless you support abolishing ICE, and anybody who's not on board, like, they're persona non grata. The brown shirts, though, who carried out these crimes against humanity, like, their agency can't just be abolished and then we move on. They have to be prosecuted for their illegal and unconstitutional behavior, and their victims have to be paid reparations. There has to be real justice. Any Democrat not on board with this shouldn't even be considered a viable contender in 2028, because after witnessing so much violence and abuse, we can't just let it go. There has to be retribution for what's happening now, because it's unacceptable. If we don't put a stop to this and hold the people doing it accountable, it's going to happen again.